What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. It's Manchester United versus Newcastle United. It's at Old Trafford. It's the last home game of the season. It's the last fight for Europe to try and drag ourselves into the Europa League. We've got some very, very interesting news and very other interesting news around football, not just Manchester United, some bits about VAR. You've, of course, got Varane's goodbye tonight when he's officially announced that he's leaving the club. You've got HOJLUND, who's... Before I get into that, let me just pull up the team. So this is the starting lineup that we're going with, apparently. I have no idea who's going to play as the striker because, as we know, HOJLUND is on the bench. So this isn't a predicted starting. Let me just change that because that's on the thing. This is the actual starting 11, which no one could have foreseen, to be honest with you, because Rasmus has played the majority of games. But, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be like BRUNO as a false 9. Or if it's going to be fucking Ahmad as a false 9, or if McTominay is going to be a bit of like a shadow striker. No idea. But the back line stays the same. So we've got Onana, Dalot, Casemiro, Evans, and Wan-Bissaka, which isn't fantastic news because the defensive record of late has been absolutely horrendous. We've also got Amrabat, who maintains his place alongside Kobbie Mainoo. You've got McTominay, which, again, I really don't know. I don't know if he's going to be a striker. I have no idea. I'm still trying to kind of lapse it up in my head. But whilst I do that, let me just bang this on here, and I can get rid of that just because it says predicted and it's not predicted. It's let me just transform very quickly, and there we go, sorted. So yeah, that is the starting 11 apparently. Let me know what you think. Onana, Dalot, Casemiro, Evans, Wan-Bissaka, Amrabat, McTominay, Mainoo, and then you have Amad Diallo starting again. Bruno Fernandes, we think is going to be a false 9, but I don't know. And then Alejandro Garnacho on the left-hand side. Now, someone could come up with some mad formation, or if it's a two-striker system, or I don't know. Can only kind of speculate at this point. But I'd love to get everybody else's thoughts. The bench for us, we've got Bayindir, Cambuala, Martinez, Collier, Eriksson, Antony, Forson, and Rashford. So Rashford is on the bench as well. A lot of things going on going into today's game. But yeah, that's your sub bench as well. So that's very interesting. We'll keep an eye on that and we'll discuss that in due course. But yeah, the main talking points, Bruno Fernandes is back in the team, which is huge for Manchester United because there was a huge creative hole missing when he was out of it. So I'm buzzing he's back. I'm not actually sure if it was... if it was his hand injury that was keeping him out, or a head injury or something. I've seen a couple of things online before. But he is back in. That's the main thing, and he starts. I'm really, really interested to see what people are saying. I think, how is it going to work? Like, is this a different system set up? I'm fascinated. Also, for people who are curious about the Newcastle team as well, they have Dubravka, who famously shit his pants at Old Trafford when he was on loan to us and then went back and never played for us again. But somehow I think he got like a Carabao Cup fucking medal. Anyway, Dubravka, Livramento, Shah, Dan Burn and Hall. So the centre-back pairing there for Newcastle interesting because they had Kraft and Burn at centre-back, which I thought would be a bit of an easier target. Shah is relatively decent, but I think you can target Dan Burn. They've got Lewis Hall, I think it is at left-back. Anderson, Bruno Guimaraes, and Longstaff in the midfield, and then Murphy, Isaac, and Gordon up top, which that's the main bit that I'm worried about. I'm very, very worried about because you look at the pace of that front three, you look at Casemiro, you look at Johnny Evans, how Newcastle play, the counter press, they're aggressive, they'll make it uncomfortable, and these guys aren't necessarily comfortable on the ball either. So they're going to need a lot of help. I think that's probably why Amrabat keeps his spot in the team for that kind of defensive steel to sit between the centre-backs. You'll have Dalot dropping into midfield, and you'll have Bruno kind of wandering the lines as well. I'm interested to see what kind of positions he's going to take up and what kind of an effect he's going to have as well. Dino saying, don't think Rasmus is starting, is it? Nope. Sweepstake going on. What minute will Casemiro fuck up for a goal? I'm going 14th minute. I think we're going to lose this one, to be honest, guys. Yeah, I thought the back line would be slightly different, to be honest. I really, really did. You're going to get cooked, mate. Banter Club of the Centre. Nice to see some really positive people in the chat. Why no HOJLUND? Apparently they're managing his minutes. So that's the reason for that. Yeah, let us know your thoughts. I'll get into the comments very, very shortly. But that is the lineup for Newcastle United tonight. Lisandro Martinez on the bench. Rasmus HOJLUND on the bench equally. So it'd be interesting to see if they get any minutes today. I'm sure Rasmus, he must come on at some point. I don't know if he's, again, taking him out the firing line, or he's got something, maybe a small little injury. People are very quick to judge and jump on a manager when they drop a certain player. And why is he doing that? When they did the exact same thing with Kobe Mainoo and Garnacho when he's been taking them off in certain games. But you're forgetting, man, these are young kids. You don't want to fucking play them, drill them into the ground. So I don't mind it, to be honest with you. If he feels like he needs a rest, then, rest the kid. It is what it is. I'm just curious to see what's going on. Do you think Ahmad will be the striker? I could also see that as well, Benjamin. I agree with that. I was in two minds when I was doing the graphic. I was like, I don't know. Like, I've seen Ahmad kind of play there before. You look at his first goal for United that he scored against AC Milan was a header in that kind of number 9 area. I believe he could play that false 9 role. I've always said he could play as a 10 as well. But yeah, I'm also worried as well about the kind of impetus we could have up top as a front three if you are playing that. If a player's going to kind of drop deep and the wingers go narrow. I don't know tactically how he's going to set up. But I think it's fascinating either way. Anybody can criticise the calls, damned if he doesn't and damned if he does. Absolutely, Rajat, 100%. Please do smash a like on the video for us. We are currently on 5,013, well, we've gone down to 5,012 because someone didn't like the content. 5,012 subscribers at the moment, and we're trying to hit 10k by start of next season, I'd probably say. Some people might say it's an unrealistic target, but yeah, sorry, I'll stay on the screen for now. And anyone who needs to line up, I'll happily go back to it. Another talking point as well, we've got Raphael Varane, who's going to say goodbye to the fans at Old Trafford today. Anyone who saw his video pulled at the heartstrings slightly. He's talking about how Old Trafford is his home and he loves Manchester United and his kids were growing up there and he always wanted to play for the club. And I spoke about this slightly yesterday on the news show. He's still one of our best centre-backs for sure, 100%. It's a shame with his injuries. He's very similar to Luke Shaw in the sense where, when fit and available, he's absolutely a starter in that squad. And he's a top level quality centre-back. But when they're injured as much as they're available, in terms of like 50-50, they're only available 50% of the games. It's one of those. And especially the wages that he's on, you're like, yeah, maybe you do need to move him on. And I don't think that's necessarily a terrible decision from Ineos personally. So, yeah, look, Raphael Varane should get a good send-off. I think he's done relatively well since he's come in. I'd also look at, the partnership with Lisandro Martinez. I think them two together last season, when they'd be fit and available constantly, together, incredible. Like, really, really good. Right up there in terms of centre-back partnerships. Other fans and other teams and all these people will tell you, no, they're not. It's, you're talking shit. I don't care. I watched these two closely, game in, game out, and it was one of the best centre-back partnerships together. It was incredible. And obviously, we got the Golden Glove last year as well, didn't we? So, and that was a big part due to the back line, which it's just been so kind of deconstructed this season. We've had so many different partnerships at the back. You look at that defence today, you're like, fuck me, man. Like, let me go back to it, just for guys on YouTube. Wan-Bissaka, Evans, Casemiro and Dalot as a back line is just... If I'm Isaac and if I'm Gordon looking at that today, I'm like, oh, mate, I'm going to absolutely terrorise that. Terrorise it. Because Casemiro has got a mistake in him. Why is HOJLUND dropped? Apparently minutes. He needs to manage his minutes. So I don't know if he's got a little injury or... Yeah, I don't know what the crack is with that. Wayne saying VAR obviously isn't going anywhere. I'm going to talk about VAR in the next kind of 10-15 minutes or so, because that's obviously a huge talking point. Sticking with Man United for the moment, Ethan Wheatley has won the Jimmy Murphy Award, which is obviously a prestigious award for like the next up-and-coming youngsters. He's obviously had a couple of minutes for Manchester United, and I'm excited to see how he kind of cracks on in the next couple of years and if he can push into that area. Because let's be honest, we're pretty struggling. Well, you can see in today's lineup we're struggling with a fucking striker, can't you? We've got no striker whatsoever. So, yeah, it'd be nice to see him flourish and come in. I'm happy he's got, a couple of minutes, made his debut for Manchester United in the same week, winning the final as well. So, against Manchester rivals. So, buzzing for him. The weird one is no Anthony Martial in the squad. So, and again, he's a very conflicting figure. Some people will be happy about that. Not me personally. He's still a United player. He's still had good seasons for United. And it would have been nice to give him a send-off, as a player, but you know, he's not in the squad, so he won't get his goodbye at Old Trafford. A couple of people mentioning, and Neil Custard, sorry, he did get it right the first time, put about Wan-Bissaka potentially wearing a shirt that he said he was going to go, and it's just like absolute fucking nonsense, mate. Yeah, so I think that was, I mean, I could be wrong, but you've also got Marcus Rashford back on the bench, which is interesting. I can see him definitely having an impact. I can see this game going. You know how the Arsenal game started? It was it was a lot more, let's say, pragmatic from Man United at the start. It was much more reserved. Arsenal, in a sense, as well, wasn't really, didn't really get out of third gear, did they? So we had like a decent amount of possession, was creating chances, but had no clinicalness in the front three, and that's kind of been an issue for a while. I could see a similar thing going. Newcastle having a couple of chances, maybe getting the 1 goal in the first half, and then we bring on the subs and they make a bit of an impact. So maybe we'll bring on Rasmus, Rashford, Lissandro in the last 30 minutes, try to keep it tight, 40, 50. I don't know. What do you think? That's how I think it's going to go, personally. Wayne saying, are these injured players going to be magically fit for the final but then play with no minutes? Well, one would speculate about that, wouldn't they? Not sure about the Newcastle starting lineup. No HOJLUND in the middle. Worried. I mean, if you're worried, our lineup's fucking horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Why is BRUNO as a striker? I don't know I don't know for sure if he's a striker. I'm not entirely. I'm just guessing. Could be him or Ahmad. Could even be Garnacho. Could be a 2-striker system. Could be a diamond. I really don't know. I'm sure we'll get some quotes coming out from Erik Ten Hag shortly on what his kind of thought process going into this. But knowing Ten Hag, knowing how stubborn he is, he's obviously had to pivot in this game for whatever reason. I think that's interesting. With obviously today's main point of the game, and what everyone's looking forward, well, not looking forward to, no one's looking forward to Europa League if you're a United fan, but the one thing we're fighting for in the league is the Europa League. Now, we're 3 points behind Newcastle. Newcastle have us and then Brentford away, I believe it is, in the next games. So, and then they don't have a great away record. I think they've only won 5 away games this season in total. You also have Chelsea, who play Brighton away. We've also got Brighton away, and Newcastle had Brighton. I don't know if that was away last week. And then they've got, who's Chelsea's last game now? They've got Brighton and, oh, you bastard. Can't remember who Chelsea's last one. Someone will know in the chat. So they've got 2 games left, and then obviously we've got this one, and then Brighton away ourselves. So, look, the fight for Europa League is on. If you want to try and salvage something, then you're going to have to go beat Newcastle tonight. It's as simple as that. If you lose, that's it. You're probably talking Conference League or just not in Europe whatsoever. And the ramifications of that isn't great for the club. People will talk about, well, actually, I'd prefer a season outside of Europe, and I'd prefer to not be in there and just watch Premier League games and FA Cup and blah, blah, blah. But realistically, financially, it hinders the club significantly because you have, like, I don't know, 15 less games, let's say, for example, travelling, making more money commercially, blah, 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 all that kind of crap. And then the TV revenue as well, that obviously drops. So, and obviously attracting players as well when you're in Europe is important. So from that standpoint, you need European football. So, of course, I'll be cheering them on tonight, and hopefully we can get the job done. But Newcastle will be up for it as well. You know, the last time they came to Old Trafford in the League Cup, wasn't it? And their youngsters, basically, their C team absolutely battered us. So I hope it's not the same fucking kind of game in that one. I really, really hope it isn't. And Eddie Howe will have them set up to hurt us and affect us. And he would have seen the kind of chinks in our armour at the moment. Especially in the Crystal Palace game. You can't put in a performance like that. So, yeah, we can't be making any kind of mistakes today. I've spoken about this numerous times. If you look at the Arsenal game, Casemiro makes a mistake, doesn't step up in time, keeps Kai Havertz on side, they get to the byline and they score. You look at the Crystal Palace game, there was 2 mistakes that he made in that. Clumsy, getting pushed off the ball, dilly-dallying on it, a bit of wildness from him. Crystal Palace scored 2 goals. You look at the Sheffield United game, wild header back to Onana or Wan-Bissaka, whoever it was. Onana ends up fucking punching someone in the face, basically. They get a penalty, is it, I think? And they score the penalty. Onana does tries passing it to Delo, gets cut out, they score. And you can go on and go on and go on and go on. And this has been a reoccurring theme all season. So if you want to win games, first and foremost, you can't make fucking individual mistakes like that. It's critical. You cannot make mistakes like that. So I'm hoping they're not going to do no stupid stuff. Eric Ten Hag's just been asked why Rasmus HOJLUND is on the bench. He said, we want to keep him remaining fresh. It's a long season for all young players, and you see sometimes his energy levels are dropping. We need to keep him fresh, which is fair enough. Fair enough. Still a lot of people speculating where people are going to start. I've quite a few people have gone with a similar graphic to what's mine. As you can see there, I've put false 9 with BRUNO. I think that's how it's going to go. Anything else we've got on? Sorry, I'm just looking at some of the quotes from the manager. Amrabat keeping his place. I absolutely agree with. I put a thing out on the TikTok for people who's probably saw it. I thought he had a good game. His passing can improve for sure, but you're forgetting this is a guy who's hardly had any minutes recently. He's hardly played at all. And when you compare it to Christian Eriksen there, it's apples and oranges, mate. Especially when you're playing a team like Newcastle who live and die off counter pressing and transitions and, you know, that kind of high press. Eriksen's just not the guy for that. He's really, really not. So I think that's the right decision, putting him in there. Him, Mainu, and McTominay's a bit more steel in that midfield. You're coming up against Gomares, who's a fucking top player. You're coming up against Longstaff, who's in pretty decent form. He's been scoring quite a few for him. And I think Elliot Anderson's in the midfield as well, who's a decent player. Why is BRUNO at striker? I mean, I've already been slightly through it. HOJLUND's on the bench, so yeah, he's playing as a false 9, I'm guessing, but it could be Ahmad. You won't get anything at Brighton. You're probably right. I notoriously remember the result there when we got beat 4-0. So, yeah. Roy Keane on Rasmus HOJLUND dropping to the bench. Maybe the manager is sending a message to the board that he has not got many options. Sometimes I think managers do that with a couple of games to show they need reinforcements. Obviously, he's hoping he'll be ready for the cup final. Obviously, with that in mind as well. Oh, so he said he asked if Fernandes or Ahmad is playing as a striker, and he said you'll see both are possible. So, yeah, there's a lot of fluidity in there. Obviously, you look at any of them. I think Garnacho could probably step into there. BRUNO equally can do a job there, although I've not usually liked him when he's played as a false 9. Ahmad, likewise, he can drift in there. BRUNO drift out to the right-hand side. McTominay, BRUNO can drop. McTominay can bomb forward. So maybe they can cause a couple of problems on a tactical front. Who knows? Neil Saki says, drop the man that others will not pass to. Who's that? Let me know who that is. Bizarre lineup, says Sam. Jordy, hello. We got Jordy in the chat. How are we, lads? Up the Toonami. He's obviously up for the game today. Nice to see you in there. Nice to see opposition fans in the chat, to be honest with you. He got, why is Casemiro at centre-back again? Cambuala's not fit enough to start. Also, Casemiro played some good games lately. He's had some downfalls. We know we can do the job. He's shown that. I don't agree with that. He's had some good games lately. He's been fucking horrific, mate. How can you say that? He's had some good games. Casemiro's had some good games lately. What are you smoking? He's been shit. Been absolutely awful. The biggest lie Ten Hag's ever told in his life, that. Absolute nonsense, that is. Speaking of the centre-backs, Raphael Varane. Raphael Varane is going to say his goodbyes today. I wish he was fucking available today. I wish him and Lissandro were both available today because that give us much more of a chance. You look at the downfall of our season. It's been since pretty much, you know, the defence has been gone, wiped out completely. Shaw, not available at all. He's probably played about 5 games. Lissandro Martinez, equally, has probably played around, I don't know, 8 games or something. Varane won't be far away either. Like, we just had no backline whatsoever. And it's interesting when you compare it to Newcastle, you know, the seasons haven't been too dissimilar, but obviously the expectations at United and the expectations at Newcastle completely different, right? But it's a very similar situation, especially with takeovers as well. I know, obviously, Newcastle taken over by like a Saudi state, and you got Amanda Stavler and everything going on upstairs there. And they've taken over, and a lot of people kind of expecting like they're going to sign Mbappe, they're going to do this, and they've actually been quite intelligent about it. They brought in, you know, a British manager, trusted him, been patient with him, got correct signings, players like Bruno Guimaraes for 40 million quid, which is a fucking absolute steal. Isaac for 60 million pounds, a fantastic signing. They've got the recruitment pretty good, I would suggest. They've done pretty well since they've gone in there. Obviously, both teams this season have both had significant injuries, like throughout the team, wiped out completely. But the narrative with Eddie Howe is fantastic to get back in there after they got the Champions League last season. They had a tough Champions League group this season as well. So in that respect, Champions League, Onana practically individually chucked us out of that Like, there's no doubt. And we should have got through that group with Copenhagen, Galatasaray, and Bayern Munich. So that, speaking purely European campaigns, yeah, no doubt about that. Premier League campaigns is a weird one. I think it's tough to say because United have been shit this year, especially. Have been really, really bad. The start of the year, it looked like that was turning around. You know, we went on a bit of a winning streak, unbeaten like 8 or 9 games. And you look at our last 10 games, that's been the biggest downfall. Since the Fulham game, I would probably say, at Old Trafford when we lost, it's just gone like downhill from there. And the players are struggling. They all look knackered. Our backline, a 35-year-old injured Johnny Evans and a Casemiro whose legs fell off. It's going to hinder any team, innit? So there is perspective when people talk about Ten Hag and the season that we've had. Look, it's been bad that he's been stubborn and he's almost relying on a game in a sense in like a bit of a coin toss, let's just say. He wants to turn it into a street fight and let's see who can come out on top. And that's fine sometimes when you do have the better attackers, but you look at some of the games, it's like we've been beat by some poor teams this season. And that's why we're currently sat in 8th place, and it's probably why we're going to end on the worst return we've had under any manager. So I just think it's interesting. Like, we're in an FA Cup final. If we win that, I mean, Newcastle will bite your hand off for a trophy at the moment. But the narratives are so different with both clubs for so many different reasons. I mean, you could really do like a full 2-hour podcast talking about it in depth. Because both teams are in similar positions, but yeah, completely different expectations, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I'll stop rambling now. Dino Lewis saying, that's like Bundy was a great person because he smiled and said hello once. True Cushman saying, Ten Hag delusional as usual. Ziayo says, go to sleep, Newcastle will win. Please keep Ten Hag. He knows how to become, I can't see that bit there, rank 1 after changing seasons. I don't know what that means, but thank you for the comment anyway, regardless, whatever it is you're trying to say. Right, should we talk about VAR? I know it's not really topical in terms of the game, but obviously, big news about that. Apparently, they're going to look at scrap. Well, let me read out the actual the thing that David Ornstein put out. Let's have a look. So, Premier League clubs are set to hold a vote at their annual general meeting next month on a proposal to abolish the video assistant referee system, or VAR, from the start of next season. A resolution has now been formally submitted to the Premier League by Wolves calling for VAR to be scrapped this summer, and that will trigger a vote when representatives of the 20 clubs assemble for their yearly gathering in Harrogate on June the 6th. Would love to be a fly on the wall in that in that kind of conversation. The Premier League will oppose any attempt to bin VAR. They point to an increase in correct decisions of 82% to 96% according to their calculations, and are instead focusing on how to improve it / speed it up. One big thing with me with VAR, just to give my 2 pence on it, is the people that are running it. There's been so many inconsistencies throughout the season on it, like where you look at teams like Wolves, how it's affected them. And how many more points I mean, Wolves should probably be near us in the table, which would be a fantastic season for them if they had got the decisions that they deserved. So rightfully so, they should feel kind of aggrieved and that it's really gone against them. And I don't really blame them for them kind of pushing this, for to have people to have a conversation about it. Whether it should be scrapped or not, I don't know. A lot of people pre-VAR, you look at the famous incidents like Lampard, let's say, for example. I know that's Hawkline technology, so that's slightly different. That's a bit of a bad example, to be honest with you. But there was a lot of things that happened before it where you just sat there saying, if we just had a video thing in place, like these things would happen. And for that, it increased it a lot. But it's just the people who are looking at things in the truck or wherever it is, Stockley Park or whatever, who are looking at it, and it almost becomes subjective because you got refs and officials alike who are saying in a certain game they'll give it, and then another game they're like completely different decision. So there is no kind of measuring stick, and there's no middle ground for these for teams to go off. It's just basically a free for all, and it's subjective, and maybe that would be a handball this week, maybe it won't next week, and you can't really run a league off that, in my opinion. Yeah. United have been properly lucky this season. I think the decisions have gone against us quite a lot. The Garnacho offside was a bizarre one against Arsenal. That's the first thing that springs to mind straight away. A couple of handballs that we've had have been fucking ridiculous. My memory's really bad with stuff like this, but there has been so many this season where you're watching it. And again, get them in the chat. United decisions this season, VAR or handballs, or even if you're not a United fan, if you're an opposition fan, decisions you've had gone against you that's absolutely frustrated the life out of you. Let's get them in the chat. Let's run it up and let's see how many we can put in here whilst we're live right now. Connor Crawley is Rashford playing. He's on the bench. Sam saying Ten Hag might be onto something if McTominay is the 9. Zayoyo says, do you agree with me you will be a coach until 2030? I don't know. Zayoyo keeps putting weird comments in. No idea. Oh, Rodri's penalty against us. Yeah, was that HOJLUND? So HOJLUND brought him down, then it was a bit like an arm round, but I'm pretty sure that the same thing happened the week after, and like no decision got made on it. Or they kind of bypassed the decision. It was like, no, that's not a foul or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, there's many. You can go through him with a fine tooth. I might actually do that for a video, just go through him, like the decisions that have gone against us this season. Not to kind of sit up there and say that, oh, look how hard done by we've been. We've been shit regardless, decisions or not. But some of them have been harsh against us, I think. Been really, really harsh. But that's life, you know. They say swings and roundabouts. I think ever since Jurgen Klopp, he had a big moment. I can't remember what game it was after, and he complained about United and how many decisions we get. Ever since then, it's just like everything's gone against us. I remember famously the one against Middlesbrough in the FA Cup, the handball. He clearly pushed it down with his hand and scored, and I think that knocked us out at the time. And then the next week, Rodri did it, and they didn't give it. There's decisions in Europe that's completely different to decisions in the Premier League. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. So look, if they're looking to improve it, fantastic. Let's talk. Let's have a discussion. Get competent people in charge first and foremost. Maybe even bring ex-players into the fold, you know, in regards to decision making. Because even when they're talking about it, they seem to have a much better perspective and opinion than some of the officials that you know, yeah, some of it's been fucking absolutely awful for VAR. So I honestly don't blame some of the teams that have had stuff go against them. Sorry, I'm just typing this. But yeah, get your score predictions in. What do we think? Manchester United versus Newcastle. I think both. I think there's going to be goals in it. Personally, I could see. I'm not going to give my score prediction just yet, but I could see quite a few goals in this. I reckon. Last home game, you know, we have to go for it in a sense if you want Europa League. I'm not saying Newcastle can hold out for a draw, but that wouldn't be the worst decision for him in the world. They would probably think, yeah, we can go beat Brentford in the last game. Andrew Robinson's going 4-1 Newcastle. Jesus, I fucking hope not. I hope not. Yeah, I was just looking at some of the VAR decisions there. Jesus Christ, man. 2-1 to Newcastle, says Dino. What else are we saying? What are we thinking? Sorry, I'll scroll back up for the comments. Man United have been unlucky in every way this season, says Sidaway. Thank you for the follows, everyone. Please do subscribe if you're on TikTok or if you're on YouTube watching. Please do subscribe to the channel. We're on 5,012. We want to hit 10k. If you can help us do that, that'd be absolutely amazing. So thank you very much. Why is Bruno a striker? I've already read that out. I think Ahmad will score for us, though. He was good in the last game, wasn't it? To be fair, I'm not really spoken about Ahmad enough for someone who has been pushing this kid for a long, long time and saying that he deserves game time. Fantastic in the last game. I thought he was probably, for us at least, the best player on the pitch. Him and Amrabat had a really good game. But Ahmad's shown why. I mean, why Anthony has been consistently starting over him, I'll never know. I know why he has, because of the politics upstairs, because of the 85 million quid that we spent on him. I get that side of things, but how he's not been starting, that's a crime in itself. He defo deserves more minutes, and that is his starting place now, or it should be for the foreseeable as we move into pre-season. If he gets sold in the summer, or if he goes out on loan or any of that kind of nonsense, I'll be livid, because I think there's a player in there, and I think he's really good. And I think you look at the young talents we've got, especially in the front line, Garnacho, HOJLUND, Amad Diallo, you could really work with that. You know, whatever. Maybe Garnacho will go out onto the right, or maybe you'll have Garnacho and Rashford competing on the left-hand side, and maybe Elise will come in, you'll have Elise and Amad on the right, and then HOJLUND and another striker competing in the front line. And I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Maybe a bit more experience in that front line. So if you're bringing in a striker, let's say, make sure he's seasoned, he's got a good amount of games under his belt, maybe he's won a trophy in Europe somewhere, something like that, I would probably say. But yeah, that's the way I would go. But Amad, excited to see how he cracks on today. I think having that kind of free roaming thing with Bruno and McTominay potentially being involved in that, what Ten Hag was hinting to, I'm excited to see how that's going to cook. But we really need a good performance today. It's the defensive line that worries me. I'm not worried about the rest of the team. I'm not even necessarily worried about the striker system now. That doesn't bother me. It's the back line. It's Casemiro. It's Johnny Evans. And it's Onana together as that kind of... When you go from De Gea, Varane and Leach, which was so solid, to Onana, Evans and Casemiro, it's again, it's another one where it's apples and oranges, you know what I mean? He won't leave Palace for United. Now, a lot of people are saying this and on about Elise, of course. Listen, whatever job... Football is your job for a lot of people. You know, moving to United... in terms of wages, for what he's done at Palace to United, first up, it'd be on like an extra 100 grand a week. So you could chat about he won't leave Palace for United all you want, but financially it makes more sense for him as well. You know what I'm saying? I would never want a player just to come, you know, for financial fucking profit, but I'm just saying, like, that's obviously a big significant factor. It's not just, and will probably be in European football in some form or way, which is more than Crystal Palace as well. Dan Byrne saying I'm full of confidence today. I'm not sure why he's saying that. I hope he gets cooked. Got a feeling United will win tonight. That midfield works well. Bruno given freedom in the final third. Interesting. Anthony has played himself out of the team. I don't think he's really Brazilian, he doesn't play enough flair for me. He's just cocky, innit? Like, Anthony always finds himself to grab the headlines in whatever way he fucking can. He's really annoying me at the minute, Anthony, with a lot of the stuff that he's doing. Not just because Jamie Carragher pulled him up, but like speaking behind his mouth and just other things that he's doing. Like, I feel like he puts on a bit of a front as like this. Even when he was coming on the other day, it was like he's been brought on to save the day and win the fucking game, and he didn't do nothing. He did absolutely nothing. So yeah. Palace to Liverpool or Spurs, not Man United. You won't get in Europe unless you booked a holiday. Fair enough. Well, who knows? It depends on tonight's game. So it is all on tonight if we win or not. And I'm going to give my score prediction. I'm going to go... I think Isaac and Gordon are going to cause us problems in that back line. Man. Realistically, I think probably 3-2 Newcastle, but I could also see a 2-2 as well. If we can get the subs on in the second half, if we get the Sandro on, HOJLUND, and Rashford, believe it or not, then I think we could probably grab the game back. But either way, I think we'll be scrapping to get a point, which it sounds bad, but that's just the way we've gone. It's just the way our season is at the minute. We have to be honest with ourselves as United fans. UTFR, good to see you, mate. He's in the chat saying 3-0 Newcastle. Glad I sold my ticket. Well, I hope you're wrong, but I also don't blame you for your prediction either. There should be a good few of us on as well after the game for the post-match analysis. As always, you guys know the crack, so if you want to come join us for that, that'd be absolutely incredible. Also, likewise, on TikTok as well, for any of you viewers that are currently sat in the chat, if you want to come and join us for the post-match analysis, you're more than welcome to. And it'd be great to see some new, fresh faces in there as well. Let me just see if there's any more quotes from the manager just before kind of head off. Roy Keane asked about Casemiro. I think it's a huge problem. Ten Hag says he's done okay. No, he has cost them goals and big goals. All the best tonight, Casemiro. I think he's under huge pressure. Yeah, dealing with Isaac. That right-hand side, because he plays right centre-back as well. Isaac and Gordon in them areas. Oh, they're going to kill us. They're going to absolutely kill us. Anyway, I shall leave it at that, people. You know the situation, pre-match build-up. Go watch the game. Go enjoy the analysis. Let's hope United get a dub. If we do, we might be able to start talking about Europe and maybe have a little bit of a smile on our faces if we're allowed to do so. I'll leave it at that. Take it easy.